Hello everyone. So in this video we'll be exploring two questions posed by Epictetus. And Epictetus once again is a Stoic philosopher. And he pretty much asks in his Discourses two questions. The first question is, what is the chief concern of a good man? And the second question is, and in what we chiefly ought to train ourselves. So once again, what is the chief concern of a good man? So a man who is quote unquote good, and what is his chief concern? What is his main purpose? What is he to look out for? And how does this good man really train himself? What is it that we are supposed to train ourselves in to be good? So first, it's very important to, whenever we inquire into something, it's very important to define the terms, because there's even a saying that when we have arguments, and we define the terms before the arguments, we might not even have the argument at all. It's usually because we don't define the terms that we come to disagreements. So, in this case, what is the chief concern of a good man? So the key word here, if we have not guessed, is really good. What is it to be good? And it's very important to contextualize this. All of us, we can have our own definitions of what is good, but it's very important to ask, what does it mean to be good to Epictetus? Or what does it mean to be good to a Stoic philosopher? Or to Stoicism as a whole? The more general we get, the greater, Stoicism, it becomes more general, right? But we want to see, what does it mean to be good for Epictetus? Well, just in the context of this small chapter, just chapter 3, in this case, in Discourses of Epictetus, what does it mean to be good? So in this case, good, and according to Epictetus, something that is apparently good attracts the soul. Something that is apparently evil repels the soul. So just this definition as itself simply is that something that is good attracts the soul, something that is bad repels the soul. So just having that one simple definition, we can move on to the next one. And the next one is that which is good transcends every obligation. So what does this really mean? What this means is that, see, we have relationships with people. With my father, with my mother, with my brother, whoever it is. And what it means to be good is for goodness to transcend the obligations we have to family members. So, yes, I may have an obligation to my father, but I have a greater obligation to be good. I may have an obligation towards my brother, but I have a greater obligation to be good. So he even says here, yeah, I'm your father, I'm your brother, so does that mean I should not be good? Does that mean when good conflicts with this relationships, I should forego goodness? No. Goodness is my primary objective. So that's what it really means to be good. Goodness is just when something that is apparently good is something that attracts the soul, and something that is apparently bad or evil repels the soul, and goodness transcends obligatory relationships. So the next thing we need to understand is, when understanding the question, what is the chief concern of a good man? What is the main focus of a good man? Is that the soul has a certain inclination. So each one of us is a soul. But the soul is inclined towards two different things, or actually one thing, and it's pushed away from something else. So the soul is inclined towards truth. Anything that is truthful, anything that is reasonable, that's what the soul is inclined towards. The soul moves away or avoids that which is false, anything with falsehood. And the third component of the inclination of a soul is that it avoids misjudgment for uncertainty. So what this means is that when something is uncertain, we are not supposed to pretend that we're certain about it. I know that's a huge thing, where people, when they feel that they're uncertain about something, they want to feel confident about it and just pretend that they're certain. But no, the soul's inclination, the very nature and essence of a soul, is to go towards the truth, move away from falsehood, and suspend judgment of uncertain things. So knowing this, knowing Epictetus's explanation of the soul's inclination, then we move on to what is good. And we know that what is good is that which is attractive and transcends obligation. So here we combine these two things and we see that the soul, which has an inclination towards the truth, will go towards what is good. It will go towards what is truthful. It will go towards what is attractive, apparently attractive. And it'll stay away from dishonesty, falsehood, and it will be repelled from evil. And it will suspend judgment with things that are uncertain. This is the soul's inclination. Doesn't mean that it's always done. Doesn't mean that the soul always goes towards good. Doesn't mean that it always goes away from falsehood. But what happens is this is the natural inclination. Just as we are inclined to do certain things, but we don't necessarily do certain things. So we know that the chief concern, we know the definition of good now. And we know that the chief concern of a good man is to be good and to keep doing these things. We have to take our will, our trained will, and apply this goodness to train ourselves to be good, pretty much. So the next question is, in what do we train ourselves in? As a good person, what is it that we need to train ourselves in? And this is very important. Because what Epictetus is very, very keen on doing, Epictetus is very keen on finding out what is in our power and what is out of our power. This is huge. This whole idea of judging situations and certain things as to what's in our power and what's out of our power. So he uses this very plainly, uses this example. Actually, it's not plain, it's fascinating. He goes, in every situation in life, if it bothers us, we immediately ask the question, is this in my control or is this out of my control? You go outside, and he gives the example, if you see a handsome person, a good-looking person, and for some reason by this person being good-looking, it's affecting you. I guess you feel jealous, you feel envious, you feel attracted, but you can't get this person. What do? You immediately ask yourself, is this person's beauty in my control or is it out of my control? And you immediately say, it's out of my control, and you toss it. You toss it completely. You remove the pain from the situation. You see someone mourning about their child's death, and you feel sad. And then you ask yourself, is this in my control or is it out of my control? It's out of my control. Why? Because death is inevitable. So what you do is you toss it. You remove the pain from it. So in this case, you find out what is controllable and what is uncontrollable by the will. And by doing so, you will see that this despair that you go through will be banished or removed, according to Epictetus. And he says so strongly that if you do this, if you go through life and you do this, you will see effects that happen to you. Things will start to occur. Some sort of improvement. So, according to Epictetus, he says that when therefore anyone is seized with a giddiness in his head, it is not the arts and virtues that are bewildered, but the mind in which they lie. When this recovers its composure, so will they likewise. So essentially, when he says the arts and the virtues, it is not that what is happening outside of us that's really affecting us. It is really the mind's perception of it. And when the mind recovers its own perception of it and really sees it in a particular matter of whether it's in my control, out of my control, then what happens is that the mind starts to recover and you start to see things as they are. So pretty much in just this small chapter, there's a wealth of knowledge here. One is, what is the chief concern of a good man, and in what we chiefly ought to train ourselves. Once again, the chief concern of a good man is goodness, because the chief concern of a wise and good man is his own reason. We will see terms in Stoicism like reason, nature, goodness, these terms that are just said. They're said, and it's very important to identify what these terms mean. But it's okay if we don't know them exactly, because that requires an understanding of Greek, an understanding of Latin, and to go into the texts and see what term is used in what instance, in what context. But I think that even if we don't specifically know it, I think that it's fantastic or just great if we do generally know it. At least we know something. Just think about it. Someone asks you a question. What did Epictetus think about being good? What did Epictetus think about how one should train himself? You know, I mean, I know it's rare. No one's really going to come up to you and ask that. But at least you have an understanding, right? And then afterwards, what the word good means, you can get into it. As long as we humble ourselves and we understand that we don't know fully what good means to Epictetus just yet. But we do know that Epictetus does believe that one should conduct himself in this manner. So, besides that, what is the chief concern of a good man? To be good. The soul's inclination is to go towards the truth. So a good, something that is inherently good attracts, and the soul wants to go towards what is attractive and inherently good and truthful. And in what should we really train ourselves in? And it's the whole idea of understanding what situation is in our control and what situation is out of our control. By doing this daily, by doing this in every moment, usually in the times where our emotions are tied to something will happen to us. Something good will happen to us at the end of the day. So we've explored these two questions. In another video, I will try to either go more into Epictetus's Discourses or maybe another topic. Let's see. Thank you.